Welcome home to St. Anne's. We want you to know that you're welcome to join us at 10 a.m. on Sundays. Please be sure to hit subscribe to receive our sermons. We can't wait to meet you. I feel like this is one of those days when I need to do multiple sermons, but I won't. Maybe I will. I don't know. Do you feel like I need to explain the gospel, or are we good? Does that make sense? Okay, so Jesus is referencing the fact that he's going to be entering into Jerusalem and that he's not willing to run in fear, right? That, and I love Jesus' maternal imagery here. In fact, one of the most beautiful tapestries I've ever seen is Jesus as a mother hen in the church, these little bitty chickens. Because I don't like chickens. Ask my mother about my childhood. My father was obsessed with poultry. I don't like poultry. I think the only good chicken comes wrapped in cellophane. Yeah, I don't have any great love for chickens. However, I do love this image because how a hen protects her chickens is frankly how many female birds do it. So they literally gather under the chest, and she goes like this over them. In fact, sometimes she will rip out her own chest feathers because those are the softest down, and that's what she will line her nest with. So there's this sacrificial image of gathering and really using their body to protect their young. It's a beautiful image, and in fact, it is that image that Jesus uses for Jesus Christ's love for the church, is that of a mother, a sacrificial mother, ripping apart his own body to care for the church. So I love that image. So that's the first sermon. There you go. All right. Second, today is the day that we celebrate St. Patrick here at St. Anne's, and 17th is actually St. Patrick's Day, the saint day. Would you believe St. Patrick is actually a saint, not an alcohol? I know. Every good culture has their alcohol that they celebrate. So it's not just the Irish. The Germans do it, the Japanese, we all do it, right? If you're here in Missouri, you think it's Busch Light. Gross. The important thing that you need to know about Ireland is that the best Irish whiskey is Powers. That's the true Irish whiskey, is Powers. And just in the last couple of years, it has finally been exported to the United States. You used to not be able to get it here, and you'd have to get something stupid like, I don't know, what are the ones that people are into? Jameson and Bushnell. I don't even know what people are drinking these days. Powers is the true Irish whiskey. It's really the only way to make an Irish coffee, so there you go. You can get it at Hy-Vee. It's delicious. It's amazing. So that's what you need to know about Irish whiskeys. Having said that, Patrick is not Irish. Let's talk about Patrick, shall we? Patrick is the patron saint of Ireland, and all good things like snakes not being found in your house. That's a good thing to be a patron saint of. Patrick was around the 5th century, so think early Middle Ages. 5th century is roughly when the Middle Ages begin. Patrick is British. And the story of Patrick goes something like this. When Patrick is 16, he is kidnapped by the Irish. A raiding group of Irish come and they kidnap poor little Patrick. He's only 16 at the time. But the Britons are really cute, and so they're often kidnapped. Yeah, because they've got blondes up north, you see. And so he gets kidnapped, and he is taken to Ireland And he is a slave primarily for taking care of animals, because we all need somebody to take care of our animals. And that's Patrick's job for 6 years. He's a slave in Ireland. And after about 6 years, he escapes and goes back home to his family in Britain. And whilst there, back in Britain, he becomes a cleric. And after he becomes a cleric, he goes back to Ireland, by choice this time, and commits his life to the Irish people in the island of Ireland, which at that point is a whole island. It's not anymore, because the British get their revenge. And they spend a whole lot of their time destroying the people of Ireland. Anyway, not important. Ask the Irish how they feel about it. So that's the story of Patrick. So Patrick actually returns to Ireland after being kidnapped. This guy has no interest in Ireland. In fact, you would think after his experience, he probably hates the Irish people, because he's been kidnapped and enslaved in Ireland. Right? Right? I mean, people don't like the people who enslaved them. As a general rule, it does not make you popular. And yet, Patrick feels called to these people and commits the entirety of his adult life to the people of Ireland and to ministering to them. And so much so that Patrick is a beloved figure in Ireland. Absolutely beloved figure. And is really kind of the celebration of the Irish people in general, right? The reason that St. Patrick's Day is such a big deal is not just because of Patrick, but it's an honor of the people in Ireland, a celebration of their culture. And yet Patrick is not Irish. And I want us to reflect on that today. Because I think for those of us who have life pretty easy, it can be easy to think that only when my plans are met, only when I've checked all the things on my list, when my life looks exactly the way I planned it to be, then I will have time for God. Then I will have time for ministry. Until then, I got to focus on my stuff, my plans. I got things to do, right? I mean, nobody else is guilty of that here, are they? Because you're here on Spring Forward Sunday. God bless you. And yet, I want us to think of Patrick as our patron saint, because you and I are not called for things to be good. You and I are not called for things to go according to plan. We are called to find our ministry in our time and place where we are. And anyone living the life that they planned? Raise your hand. Higher. I can't see you. Anyone? Bueller? That's a reference to a movie. Okay. Some people get it. Okay. Hey, if you got it, live it. But the reality is, there are things that don't go according to plan. And that is the life that we are called to in that place. Proclaiming God and the gospel in that place where you and I didn't plan to be. And frankly, sometimes we don't like it there. And that's okay. Now, you would think, because one of the good evangelical things to say is, well, God planned it that way. Or the Presbyterians love this predestination thing. Here in the Episcopal Church, we're not down for that. Life is too complicated for God to have this all planned out. And God would be a real jerk if the way the world is going is according to God's plan. Now, I'm not saying God doesn't exist. I'm just saying I wouldn't worship that God. I'd have better things to do than worship a God who planned all this. So, but if that's your stance, there are churches who believe that, so God bless you. But here in the Episcopal Church, we think life is a little bit more gray than that. It's not quite that black and white. That God called Patrick to be kidnapped and enslaved and to have a miserable existence for 6 years until Patrick could escape. I hope that was part of God's plan. I don't know if it was or not. But here's the nuance. Here's the nuance that you and I and our faith believe. That God doesn't necessarily do these things to us or plan for these things to happen to us, but that no matter what, God can and is proclaimed and present in them. God doesn't cause cancer, but God can empower you enough when you're experiencing that hardship to be with you, to weep next to you, to strengthen you, and be present in that. God can be proclaimed even in Ireland. Even no matter where we are, no matter how we are, no matter what's happening, God should be proclaimed in that place. And you and I need to hear that. You and I need to hear that things don't have to be perfect. Things don't have to be according to plan. That true godliness is proclaimed even in Ireland. And I can say that because I come from German heritage, and apparently we don't like that. I don't know. I adore Ireland, and I come from a long line of Irish people. So I got all sorts of different feelings in there about that. But Patrick isn't from there. Patrick doesn't want to be there. And yet Patrick is called to proclaim the gospel there. What does that mean for you and me? What does that mean? That even if things don't look and feel the way we thought they should, we are called in this place, in this time, in this way, to proclaim God. And that is when the gospel is really, truly proclaimed. Not when it looks good or feels good, but even in the places where we don't want to be. You and I are called to be there. And if that's not good enough for you, use Powers in your Irish coffee. You will not regret it. I'm here for you, people. If you don't like the gospel, I can at least give you drink recommendations. We want you to know that you're welcome to join us at 10 a.m. on Sundays. Please be sure to hit subscribe to receive our sermons. We can't wait to meet you.